Hi all, thanks a lot for joining in. This is your instructor Rahul. I hope you guys are able to hear me and able to see my screen. All right, thanks a lot for the confirmation. So before we get started, let me tell you about this webinar session. So we are going to record all the live sessions. And in case if you want to directly chat with me, then there's a chat box, the question and answer box available. You can just type in your message and I'm going to revert accordingly. Else, in case you directly want to talk to me, then you can just ping here for unmuting, and I'm gonna unmute you from here. Then you can directly talk to me. Right. So I really want the session to be interactive, so you can ask as many questions you have. So before we get started with the training, I hope everyone is doing good and staying safe at their home. So okay, I can see a good number of audience have joined today. So today we have a mixed audience. There are many students who are joining for the first time as a demo session as well, and there are many students who have already taken some of the classes like the basic core Java sessions, and now starting with the Selenium part. So for this weekend, the agenda is not about the programming part. We are not going to cover core Java. We are not going to start directly with the automation. The agenda for this weekend is to understand what exactly Selenium is, what all components that will be covering, what all integration that will be doing, what all frameworks that will be working on, and plus we're gonna do a little configuration. We're gonna see how to run our very first test on a UI, a website. So these are a couple of things that we are going to cover in the next two sessions. Students who are joining for the very first time today, you will be moving to the core Java part from next weekend. There's a different instructor who will be taking your core Java sessions. His name is Ajay, and he is one of the expert instructor who have already taken multiple batches over here for core Java. So he'll be taking all the core Java concepts. He'll be building your core Java concepts in such a way that you will feel like that automation Selenium is a very easy task. So once you move to the Selenium sessions, then you should be able to understand all the coding part very easily. So Selenium entire sessions, all the live projects will be covered by me only. I'll be taking your Selenium sessions. But before we get started, do you guys have any questions related to the course, related to anything? Yeah, Java will be covering from scratch. Any questions that you have before we get started? So you can just post it over here now. How many lectures are scheduled for Selenium? For Selenium, it's somewhere around 6 to 7 weeks for Java and 6 to 7 weeks for Selenium. So in total, it is going to take at least 3 months to cover all the topics. It's very easy. It's not tough, so don't worry. If your basic concepts are clear, if core Java is clear, then you should be able to understand Selenium easily. Satish, parallel classes will not be there. If a person is already familiar with Java, he can directly start with Selenium. Otherwise, first you'll be doing Java and then you'll be doing Selenium. We are starting both the batches at the same time. So, like parallel classes might not be there. So people who are joining for the first time can start with the Java part from next weekend. And rest who have already completed Java, will gonna start from the Selenium in the same batch. Yes, Abu, complete core Java will be covered. That is required for Selenium. So same time, the same time that we have started now is the same time for Java as well from next weekend. All right, let me give me my intro. I mean, okay, you're not able to see chats, Gaurav. This is because it's a limitation of GoToWebinar session. So, like, you might not able to see others chat, but in between, I can paste the chat over here, or I at the end of the session, I'll be forwarding you what all discussions that happened. So this is what others are asking. But don't worry, whatever others are asking, I'm gonna repeat the question and then I'm gonna answer it. So don't worry about that. All right. Okay, so I'm Rahul, and like I'll be taking all your Selenium sessions. As far as my experience is concerned, I'm having over 14 plus years in software testing itself. I used to work as a test manager with one of the company in Gurgaon in India itself. And right now, I'm completely into trainings. I have worked on a lot of automation tools. Related to like UI automation, API automation, mobile automation. I've worked with different languages like Java, like Python, like JavaScript. So I'm into this automation field from over 10 years now. And I have been into corporate trainings as well. I have delivered trainings to many organizations in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, even in New York to a company, shutterstock.com, in Seattle to Spoken Communications. So that is pretty much about my experience. So I believe, like most of the audience who are attending today are somewhere related to the testing background itself. Majorly, I know that majorly are from manual testing and are learning Selenium because you want to move into automation. Anyone from development background as well who have joined us today? Bhushan, the course duration is going to be 3 months. Mona Lisa is asking, is JavaScript used in automation testing? JavaScript is used, but that's a different, there's a different framework for JavaScript. But what we are covering, we are going to cover Java with Selenium. So there is no role of JavaScript in this Selenium that we are going to study. Okay, Nidhi is saying I don't have any testing experience, new to IT industries. Okay, so Nidhi, in case you are getting into the IT industry, the software testing is something which is like a shortcut to the industry as compared to the development. So Selenium is something like which is like a prerequisite these days. Even if you are getting into manual testing, the interviews are something like everyone is going to ask you, do you have knowledge of automation? Do you know Selenium? So Selenium is something like a prerequisite, even if you're going into manual testing. So don't worry. I mean, to get started with Selenium, it's very, very simple. The only thing you need to work on is the basic programming language. There is no advanced programming or advanced Java that is required to work on Selenium. Yeah, the course, tell her the course will be over the weekends only, Saturday and Sunday, because most of the people who are joining us are working professionals, and most of the instructors who are associated with Way to Automation are all working professionals. So, like you'll be trained with the people who are not only a trainer, who have already worked in the same domain from many years. So that is how, I mean, the trainings are only over the weekends. Course structure topics, I'll be explaining, I'll be listing down what all things we'll be covering. So by the end of the session, you'll come to know that what all things that we are going to cover. Yeah, the classes will be at the same time. That is 8 p.m. India time. We're gonna start, and it is going to be up till either 9:30 or 10 p.m. IST. So depending upon the topic that we are covering. Right. Yeah, the timings are going to remain same. This is because there are many people attending from US, UK, and other part of the world as well, and these are the global timings. Dhaneshwari, if we try to do it at 5 p.m., then it might not work for the people who are attending from US. So these are the global timings. In case if you miss to attend any session, then you can also go through the recording of the same day. We are going to record each and every session. You all guys will be added to the WhatsApp groups. In case of any questions, queries, doubt, you can also post in the WhatsApp group as well. All right, so let's take other questions later on. Let's first gonna get started. So the batch size, Anshul is asking, what is the batch size? So batch size is not going to be like 50 to 60 students. This is only for the first session. This batch, there are many people who have already covered the Java session, are also attending these sessions. So next time the batch is going to divide into two. So don't worry about the batch size. And anyways, I mean, I'm going to make the session very interactive. So I'm going to handle each and every query of yours. So in case you directly want to talk to me instead of typing, then you can unmute yourself and you can directly talk to me. But for unmuting, you just need to ping on the chat box and then I can unmute you from here. All right, so let's get started. So like the very first thing comes is, what exactly is Selenium? So I know most of you might be knowing like what is Selenium. So anything and everything that you know, just let me know. What exactly is Selenium? Anything, just type it in the chat box. UI automation, open source automation framework, automation tool, suite of tool, automation tools. So a lot of answers I'm getting: automation testing tool, open source, API, automation tool for browser automation, testing framework. Okay, so 70% of the answers are like automation testing tool for browser automation, for web-based testing. So Selenium, it's actually, if I write it over here, it's an automation testing tool for web-based application testing, and only and only for web-based application testing. You can only test and automate websites. So what all other things are there in testing? I mean, what all other applications do you test apart from web-based? Desktop applications, client server applications. There is some UI involved in that as well. Mobile application. Yeah, there could be an API involved in that. So APIs, microservices are somewhere related to API, database applications. Anything else apart from this? Cross-browser testing is again related to web-based. So we have the very first thing we started with is a web-based application. Then we have desktop-based applications. We have mobile applications. We have APIs. APIs as in what we call it as web services. And then we have database. So these are the major areas where we generally perform testing. Right, load testing, performance testing, it's type of a non-functional testing, but that is again done on either web or desktop or mobile or API, right? So these are majorly the type of testing that we generally do. Like we can manually test these applications, or we can use automation tool to test these applications. Then we like automate the manual test cases, basically whatever that we have written, and we execute it on these applications. So we know that Selenium is for web-based application testing only. Any other tool that you have heard for web-based apart from Selenium? Okay, a lot of tools like QTP, or also called as UFT, Catalan, okay, Cypress, okay, okay. That's it. Cucumber is a framework. It's not a tool. Protractor, Tosca, okay, okay. WebDriver IO. Yeah, there are a lot of tools. So if we talk about WebDriver, if we talk about Protractor, these all are generated from Selenium itself. How about desktop applications? UFT, UiPath. Okay, related to RPA. UFT, QTP, one of the same thing. Auto IT is equally, yeah, I mean, you can say, but these are very, very small tools. What all frameworks included, Mayank? I'll gonna tell you once I discuss the syllabus. I'll gonna tell you about all the frameworks we'll be using. So majorly, this UFT was very popular. I mean, UFT or prior we know, and with the name as QTP. So it was a very popular tool for desktop application. Now we have UiPath as well, right? Which is again a popular tool. How about mobile? Do you know any automation tool? APM, yes, one of the most popular automation tool. APM, Espresso, UFT1. Okay. Any other? Any other popular one? Perfecto is one popular automation tool. Selendroid is over now. Selendroid was started long time back, but the project was never completed. Selendroid is like Selenium for Android. So yeah, there are a couple of tools which are very popular. APM is there, Perfecto is there. Initially there was Robotium, then Espresso is there, UFT1 is there, Renorex. Okay. How about API? Do you know any tool for API? Postman. Okay. SOAP UI. Rest assured. Ready API. Karate. Great. Swagger. Swagger is a UI. Yeah, you can test APIs as well. I mean, you can get response using Swagger as well. Okay, I'll list down Swagger as well over here. That's great. These are for APIs. How about database? Postgres. Database is basically we have SQL, MySQL, Oracle, right? These are where we can write our SQL queries and we can perform. We can get the data and we can validate the data, right? So we can perform mostly like manual testing. Manually, we are writing queries, we are fetching the data, and then we are validating it, right? So a lot of tools are there, a lot of databases are there, right? Big data, Hadoop, you can all relate with the database part. So a lot of tools that we have seen over here, but where is Selenium? Selenium is only over here for web-based application testing. So Selenium only automate web-based. Then why Selenium is very popular? Why every prerequisite we see Selenium? Why not Perfecto? Why not QTP? Why not Postman? Why only Selenium? Free of cost, open source, no license. Yeah, this is one of the reason. I mean, like Selenium, it's an open source. open source automation testing tool. Open source means there are no license required for Selenium. Like if we talk about QTP, UFT, and other automation tools, there is a heavy license cost which a company has to bear to get the license, and then they need a resource who can use that tool. They need to get a resource trained on that tool, and then he or she can get started with that. And license are like, there are one time license as well, there are yearly license as well. So company is actually bounded with that automation tool till the time they're like buying the license, they can use that. If they're not, they cannot use it, right? And the license is very expensive, whereas same functionality Selenium provides absolutely free of cost. Like if I talk about QTP, single user license is somewhere around 2000 to 4000 USD, right? It's a huge amount. If a company is going for concurrent license of 50 users, it may going to cost a huge amount. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, there is no license. Everything that QTP can automate on a web-based application, Selenium can also automate. But yes, Selenium cannot automate desktop-based applications. If we talk about current market, 70%, not even 70, 80% are the web-based applications, because it's a time of cloud computing. Everything is on web, right? No matter any domain you talk about, health domain, banking domain, e-commerce, majorly you're going to find a web-based applications, right? It's a market of web-based applications. So that is the reason Selenium is very popular, because you can automate any website, any web-based application using Selenium without paying any licensing cost. So this is one of the major thing about Selenium. You need not to buy any license. You can directly download it and start using it. So that is what Selenium is, right? So what all components are there in Selenium? What all components are there? IDE, RC, WebDriver, Grid. Only four, or anything else as well? Yes, there are only four components. And which is the one that current market is using? WebDriver. Exactly. So WebDriver is the one that market is currently using. A market is market not using Grid? Is market not using ID? How about RC? ID is outdated. RC is deprecated. Not deprecated, RC is gone from the market now. IDE, yes, but there are some limitations. Not some, there are many limitations of IDE. Right. So the majorly components that are used are WebDriver and Grid. Now, what IDE is, what RC is, what WebDriver is, what Grid is, we're gonna talk about all these things in detail. IDE is just like a record and play plugin. For every automation tool, if you have worked on any automation tool, like if we talk about QTP as well, there's a record and play of QTP. But that record and play is quite huge component. They've invested majorly on that record and play part. But in Selenium, the record and play is not at all strong, right? You can just record a basic part, get the code out of that and use it. But IDE cannot handle much stuff. Ultimately, you have to come to the coding part in Selenium only, right? Similarly, there are record and play available with other automation tools as well, like not even QTP, even in RFT as well. There are many other automation tools. Record and play is there. If I try to show you the record and play feature, that is Selenium IDE. IDE looks something like this. Let me show it to you. This is Selenium IDE. I think I have added it. Let me see. Yeah, this is Selenium IDE. This is a plugin, right? It's a plugin to your browser. You can install it on Firefox. You can install it on Chrome. on both the browsers, both the popular browsers. It is available. So you can click on see record a new test. Give your project name. Let's say I can give any name, Google project, and I'll just gonna click on OK. Give the website URL http google.com. Click on start recording, and you can see Selenium IDE is recording. And now if I type Selenium over here, click on search, perform any action on this page, all the actions are being recorded over here, see, in Selenium IDE. Then I can stop this test. I'll stop it from here. Let's give this test name as Google test cases. Any name you can give. Click on OK. And in case you want to run them again, click on run all test, and same test cases will be executed. Right? So at times you may gonna encounter these sort of things which you may or may not be able to handle in Selenium IDE. And normally what people do once the test cases are executed, they generally this is one tricky part here, that we can export the test cases as well. But in order to export the test cases, we generally do a right click over here. And right clicking is a little tricky thing over here. Just give me a moment. Yeah, now right click is going to work. So this is a little defect over here. So you can click on export, and you can export it with a different multiple languages. It is showing over here. If I exported it with Java, I'll say export, and I'll go to desktop, and I'll name it as, let's say, Google test cases, and save it. And if I open this, just a moment, and edit it with Notepad++, you're gonna see a lot of coding over here. Right? So generally what people do, they copy this coding part and then use it in their editor. There are many editors available, something like Eclipse is there, IntelliJ, there are a lot of editors available. We're going to see the editors as well. But the coding that is written over here, this coding is not at all complex. This is not at all complex. See, if I want to navigate to a website, it is something like driver.get. This get is basically a function, a method in which I'm passing a URL. If I execute this code, it is going to navigate to a website. Driver.find element, it's like I'm finding some element which has got a name Q. And then send keys is like I'm typing. Click is like I'm clicking on a button. Right? This coding is very, very simple. It's just that if you are familiar with basic Java concepts, you should be able to understand this thing very easily. And there are a lot of limitations in Selenium IDE. A lot of things are there which Selenium IDE cannot handle. Selenium IDE cannot generate a report for you. At the end, you want a test cases report, like we have executed 100 test cases, and out of that, 70 are getting passed, 30 are getting failed. You cannot do that thing in IDE. Right? You cannot send an automated email. I want the report should be automatically attached to like my Outlook or Gmail, and then should be sent to test managers, test lead. That thing cannot be done in Selenium IDE. So these are some of the things. I mean, there are so many things that you cannot do in IDE. So these are limitations of IDE. It is only good for record and play. And even, I mean, this simple code, no one who is actually working in Selenium prefer to use Selenium IDE. Companies are not at all using Selenium IDE, right? Because everything can be easily done by writing a simple code. But yes, you need to be good in Java in order to understand this code or in order to write this code. And this is only basic Java, basic core Java, no advanced Java that is required to work on Selenium, right? And we'll be covering all this part in depth before we get started with Selenium. So that is what your first component, what Selenium IDE is. And then later on, like since most of the things are not handled by IDE, they created a programming component, which is called as RC. So using the programming part, you can automate those things which were not handled using IDE. So they created something called as RC, which is called as a remote control, which was launched in the very first version of Selenium, which is Selenium 1.0. Now, which is the current version of Selenium? Selenium 4, 4 beta, 3.14. So Selenium 4 is not officially launched. It's true, Selenium 4, but Selenium 4 is at the beta version at the moment. The launched version, which is officially launched, which is currently used by companies, is basically 3.141.59. And prior to this, it was Selenium 2. So first was Selenium 1, then was Selenium 2, and now we have Selenium 3. And very soon we are going to see Selenium 4. So the current stable version is this, which companies are working on, 3.141.59. Well, what is Selenium 1? What is 2? What is 3? What is 4? What is 1? What all components that Selenium 1 contains? Out of these 4 components, what were there in Selenium 1? RC plus ID, RC ID grid, RC plus IDE plus grid. No WebDriver. Yes, these were the 3 components at the time of Selenium 1, which was started in the year 2004 by a person named as Jason Huggins. Which company came up with Selenium? Like if we talk about QTP, UFT, which company came up with QTP? HP? Mercury. HP has later on acquired QTP from Mercury, and they've changed the name of QTP to UFT. Same way, there is some company, who came up with Selenium, and the company name is, yes, most of you know, that is ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks is the one who started with this project. Okay, what is there in 2.0? What all components? RC, WebDriver, Grid, all are there. So means 2.0 contains IDE plus RC plus WebDriver plus Grid. And what 3 contains? WebDriver and Grid only? No RC. So Grid, WebDriver, Grid, and IDE. These are the 3 components in Selenium 3. And what is 4 going to contain? It is going to contain all these 3 components itself. So these are the components that were there in different versions. And why Selenium 2 came into the market, why 3 came into the market, why 4 is coming in the market. We'll be discussing about all these things as well. But before that, anything else that you know that we integrate with Selenium? What all components that you may have heard that we integrate with Selenium? Anything that you may have heard about apart from these 4 components? CrowPath. Okay, I'll write down CrowPath as well. CrowPath, or the latest one is Selectors Hub. Git, Maven, Git, GitHub, SVN, Maven, Jenkins, JUnit, TestNG, Cucumber, extend reports. Great. BDD is this Cucumber. Log4j. Great. POI. Great. Mail API. Bamboo, Jenkins are the same stuff, right? Let me show you your answers as well in a screenshot. So these are the answers. Anything else apart from this? Anything else that you have heard that we can integrate with Selenium? Okay, what all like properties of Selenium? I mean, what all it supports? Git GitHub I've written. Nikita is asking what Selenium grid means, so I'll tell you. Just give me a moment. Before that, what other features are there for Selenium? Anything else? What it supports? These are the integrations that we can do. But what it supports? Multiple browsers. It supports multiple browsers. Browsers like we have Chrome, we have Firefox, all major browsers. Chrome, Firefox, IE, Edge, Safari, Opera, all major browsers are supported by Selenium. Anything else apart from browsers? Multiple languages. Yes. Multiple language as in you can work on Java, you can work on Python, you can work on C#, you can work on Ruby, you can work on PHP, you can work on JavaScript. If you know any one of these languages, you can work on Selenium. Yes, integration with ALM can also be done, integration with Jira can also be done. So anything that is feasible with a programming language, you can achieve it with Selenium. Headless testing is also possible. Parallel testing is also possible, right? Multiple languages there, multiple browser is there. There's something called as multiple platform. It supports multiple platform as well. Other than the multiple OS, you can run your code on Windows. You can execute your automation scripts on Mac. You can execute it on Linux. You can execute it on iOS, Android, Solaris, all major operating system. You can execute your test on when you're working with Selenium. But if you talk about QTP, UFT, which operating system it supports? Only Windows. So that is the major disadvantage, that you can run your code only and only on Windows if you're working on QTP, UFT. And these days, client can use any machine. Client can be on Mac, can be on Linux, can be on Windows. So your client wants that your product should be fully tested on all major operating system and all major browsers. Whereas QTP can only test it on Windows. So if we know QTP, UFT is the biggest competitor of Selenium. There was a time when QTP, UFT market was very huge. Every next automation opening was of QTP, UFT, but time have changed, right? Now these days you may or may not gonna see much openings around QTP, UFT. But if we talk about Selenium, then every next opening in testing, even if it is related to manual testing, Selenium is like a prerequisite. Yes, this is another disadvantage, that QTP supports only VB-script, and VB-script runs only and only on Windows. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, it supports multiple languages. And in this, if I talk about Java, then Java is completely open source. The version that we are going to use with Selenium is completely open source. Although latest versions, there are some license involved as well. now with Java. But if we talk about Python, Python is completely open source. Both languages are platform independent. You can run it on any operating system you want, any machine you want. If it supports Python, if it supports Java, you can execute your Selenium code in all major operating systems. And all these major operating systems, they support both the languages. Python is another demanding language after Java. So 70% of the market is using Selenium with Java. And then after that, the next demanding language is Python, and then we have C Sharp. Because there are many Microsoft lovers as well. So they prefer using Selenium with C Sharp, right? But if you talk about open source industry, majorly people are using Java and then Python. So Python is again getting in demand because of ML and AI, right? Machine learning and artificial intelligence is like increasing day by day. So that is the reason. I mean, the language which is used in those technology is Python. So Python is also getting very popular with Selenium. But if you know Java, Python is very simple. Within a month, you can migrate your code in Python and you can even start working on Python. Right? I myself have used these languages. I've used Ruby as well. I've used JavaScript as well. So, like even I have created a course on Selenium Python as well. So even Selenium Java. So the first language when I started was Java itself. And if you know the basics of any language, you should be able to migrate to another language within a month's time, or even less than that. Right? So this is what the features of Selenium, and these are some of the integration that Selenium supports. But the very first thing about Selenium is that it is not a tool. Yes, Selenium is not a tool. Tool like QTP is a tool, RFT is a tool. You get a setup file, you install it on your desktop or your laptop. Like you double click on that exe, it provides you a whole platform. You do next and install it. You get something like record and play in that tool. You get a GUI, right? You use multiple features of that GUI. You can even write coding inside that GUI. But Selenium is nothing like that. You cannot install Selenium. You'll not be able to see Selenium. Selenium, there is no UI called as Selenium. Forget about IDE. IDE is not at all used. The actual Selenium which we're gonna work on, we cannot install it. There is no exe in Selenium, no setup file. So if Selenium is not a tool, then what exactly is Selenium? It's a jar file. Jar file, when you're working with Java, then you call it as a jar file, right? So in case you're working with C Sharp, you'll call Selenium as a DLL file. If you are working in Ruby, you'll call it as a gem file. With Python, it's a pip file, right? So different frameworks, different like where Selenium is available. So Selenium is basically, yes, we can call it as a framework. We can call it as a set of libraries. We can call it as like set of libraries or collection of libraries. We can call it as a project. Yes, we can also call it as an API. So that's what Selenium is. It's not a tool. It's a collection of jars or a collection of libraries. It's a framework. It's a project built up in any programming language. Let's say a project built up in Java, and we are about to consume that project for our automation, right? So what that project contains? That project contains so many classes, so many functions, so many methods, which a developer has written. Whosoever has created Selenium has written some code. Now we are going to consume that code. We are going to apply that code in our automation. And for that, it's not like we are writing the same code. We are going to write the same complex code. Selenium is already developed. They have written everything, right? In order to automate our task on a website, let's say I want to perform click. I'm not going to write the complete functionality for performing click. I may gonna call one function which is called as a click. And once I call this function, it is going to perform click on that button or that link. Similarly, if I want to type something, I'm gonna call a function called as type. Instead of type, they've given it a name as send keys. So one by one, I'll be calling functionality from that project. And these functions and methods both are the same thing. In Java, we call functions as methods. So these methods, they've already written. They've created everything. We are just calling these methods from their project, and we are automating our website, automating our test cases. And in order to call these methods, we need that project. And that project, they're not going to give you like the complete code to download. They're giving you something in a compiled format, which is called as a jar file. In case you are using Selenium with Java, you'll be downloading Selenium as a jar file. If you are using it as, let's say, C#, you'll be downloading a DLL file. If you are using it with like PHP or JavaScript or Ruby, you'll be downloading gem file. Same way, different language, different bindings of Selenium is available. So ultimately, you are getting the complete project. This jar contains the complete project. For PHP as well, there are different bindings available. So although I've not worked on PHP, so I cannot comment on it, but these bindings, you can easily download it from the Selenium website. For Python, it's a PyPy file available. I mean, it's basically you need to install it using pip. So there are bindings available for that as well. And where you can get these bindings? From the main website of Selenium. So which is the main website of Selenium? Anyone? Which is the main website? Selenium HQ? See, still a lot of people are saying seleniumhq.org because you know Selenium from the long time. But people new to Selenium who may have did a little research these days or like in the last few months must be knowing the new website is changed a long time back. So the new website is selenium.dev. It's not seleniumhq.org. So even if you type seleniumhq.org, you'll be navigated to the new website that is selenium.dev. So this is the new website. And you can see over here, what is Selenium? Selenium automates browsers. That's it. Only and only for web-based testing. If you go to download, you're going to see the current version of Selenium. The latest stable version is 3.141.59. And the beta version is 4. Right? So a lot of components you're going to see over here, like grid is there, WebDriver is there inside this jar file itself. Right? The project, the source code, everything is available once you download the jar file, and it's just a 10 MB jar file. If you click on this, see what is downloaded is jar, and this is just a 10 MB jar. If you look over here, it's just a 10 MB jar file. This is your Selenium. Not a huge installation. You're not going to get 1 GB file which you need to install and going to take a lot of disk space. Just a 10 MB jar file. You use it and can automate any website. Is there Gaurav is asking, is there any code difference with the version? Yes, every time you'll see a version updated over here, there is something that developer may have added a new code or may have done some changes in the existing functionality or might have fixed some bugs and have created a new version and launched it over here. So we can even check what is actually going in the versions. You just need to go over here. If you're looking for Java, see all the languages over here. If you're looking for Java, you can go to the change log and see what all things that they are adding, they are updating in the project. So this website has got a very good documentation. Everything you're going to find it in the website. See, starting from 2.1 version, they are maintaining this. Whatever they are adding, the bug fixes they are doing, you're gonna see everything over here, right? So in case, see, these are the bugs that they have fixed, something they have updated for Opera, right? A lot of things to make this project a more stable project. So you're gonna find all these things over here, right? So you should be going through these things once there is a new update. You Some of the messages might be relevant for you, some might not, but at least you can get some idea that what is they have fixed for beta 3, what is they have fixed for beta 2. You should be able to get all these things from here. And this thing you can get it from Java and go to changelog, and then you should be able to see it. Okay, so Mona Lisa is asking, is it going to affect if we add old version installed? Is it mandatory to update? See, it's always recommended to use the latest version. So we 3.141.59. I think this version is there like more than 1 year now, and this is one of the most stable versions. So if there is a new version launch, let's say Selenium 4 came into the market, so we should stop using Selenium 3 and move to Selenium 4. We should always be using the latest one. But it's not like the previous code that we have written is not going to work. We are still using 3.14159, so it is still going to work. Nikita, I'm not clear with your question. Okay, Abu is asking, will we gonna cover the complete setup on the lab? Yes, we are going to do all those things. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna show you how to install Eclipse, how to download, configure Selenium, how to run your very first test. We're going to do all these things. Uh, okay, you want Nikita, you want to see where I have like shown you this changelog. So you just need to go to the homepage, selenium.dev, go to download, and from here look for the Java language binding and go to change logs. And here you should be able to see all these things. Right? Which company handling these modifications? So anyone can tell me, like initially Selenium 1 was started by ThoughtWorks. Then Selenium 2 came into the market. WebDriver. Which company came up with WebDriver? Correct, Nitesh. Which company came up with WebDriver? Correct, Sumit. How about others? Come on, guys. Which company came up with WebDriver? Anyone, guys? I just got a couple of answers. Guys, just give me a moment. Someone is trying to join the session, is not able to join. Let me send him the meeting invite. Just give me a moment, guys. One second, guys. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of answers are Google. Some is saying ThoughtWorks. No, ThoughtWorks came up with the initial version only. So later on, there's a developer like whose name. Anyone know the developer name who came up with Selenium? Simon Stewart. Exactly. So Simon Stewart is the one who came up with this WebDriver. Simon Stewart. And the company he used to work as a lead developer is Google itself. So Google is the one, where the WebDriver was initially started. Many Google developers have contributed into the development of this WebDriver. Even Google today itself, there are many like testers who are using WebDriver for automating their internal applications, web-based applications, right? So Simon Stewart was then associated with Facebook as well, and he has also worked with Can you hear me, guys? All right. Uh, yeah, thanks. So I was saying that like the Google initially started it, then later on many developers who from different organizations, from big organizations, they've contributed into the development of this project. Developers from Facebook, from Adobe, from ThoughtWorks, and like even it's an open source project. Anyone can work on this project. Even if you're good in the coding part, you can contribute into the development of this project as well. And these are the sponsors who are actually paying for this, paying for the development of this project. So these are there are premium level sponsors, there are platinum level sponsors. So many companies are actually paying for the development of this project as well. So that's what like how the open source project that is surviving in the industry, right? So Simon Stewart, like when WebDriver was introduced, they were still supporting RC, but in the mid, somewhere around 2.44, they have 2.44 release. This RC got deprecated, and the last release of 2.0 was 2.53.1. This was the last release, and then they moved on to Selenium 3. And in 3, they have removed the support of RC. They have removed RC from their library, right? So we're going to talk about these components as well. But let's come over here that we were discussing that Selenium is an API. It's not a tool. It's a framework. It's a set of libraries. Now tell me what exactly is an API? What do you understand by the term API? What is an API? If I'm saying it's an API, what is an API? Anyone? What is an API? To communicate with two different platforms, okay, like connecting tissue which connects various other applications, way of communication between client and server. So most of the answers are related to I can say web services, a web service, a microservice, right? So APIs are not just web service or web or a microservice. API itself is a complete project. It's a complete project that contains your complete programming part. It contains a lot of classes, interfaces, methods, functions, data members, variables, data types, anything that you have in programming. The API consists of everything. Application programming interface. Yes, it's a full form of an API. So I'm gonna take a very simple example. This generally I take in all my demo sessions. So let's say I'm a Java developer. I'm a Java developer and I work with some XYZ.com. Now here I got a task that I need to design a calculator. So there are various operations available in calculator. I can add something, I can subtract something, I can divide something and multiply something and so on. As a developer, I want to create a calculator and I'm a Java developer. So what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a class, I'll be creating a Java project. In that, I'll be creating a class with the name as calculator. Now, I believe everyone must have heard about, at least heard about what a class is. I know, I mean, there are many people who are very beginner to the programming language, but at least somewhere in your graduation, you must have studied C, C++. Is there anyone who have never touched any programming in the group? You can just type. No one is going to see your message. So don't worry about it. Guys, don't hesitate in asking questions. Only I can see your questions. Okay, never done programming. But have you studied programming in your graduation? Have you studied like C, C++? Okay, you did only VB script. Okay, and Qt UFT. Okay, that's great. Non-IT background, just finished core Java. Okay, okay. So rest, I can see a lot of people who are little familiar or have studied in the graduation. But I believe everyone know what a class is. At least you have heard what a class is. What class consists of? Object, methods, variables, functions, main method, okay, variables. Yeah, that's correct. So everything, yes, you're gonna find it inside class. So people who are very new to programming, don't worry about it. Just take these two sessions as it is a lightweight sessions, because from the next week onwards, you'll be starting with ABC of Java. So don't worry about it. Just try to judge in these two sessions what level of programming that you need to work on in order to work with Selenium. So just try to judge these things and just see what exactly is Selenium. So if you are learning Selenium, then what all things that you actually have to perform or integrate and what level of Java that is required. So just try to understand the concept. Don't worry about the programming part. If you're not familiar with programming, don't worry about it. Right? From next session, we'll be starting ABC. Don't worry. Just try to take these sessions as it is. So a class contains a lot of like methods are there, methods are then the functions are there, the data members are there, variables are there. So let's say if I'm working as a Java developer and I want to create this functionality, addition, subtraction. So what I'll be creating a class, and inside this class I'll be creating all these in a form of a function. So I'm going to create a function and name that function as add function, or in Java we call it as method. So I've created a method add. In this, I'm going to write some code so that if you call this add method, it is going to add some numbers. Same way, if I call subtract, if I write subtract, if I write some code inside this, then if you call this subtract, it is going to subtract some number. Same way, I'm going to create a method divide. I'm going to create a method multiply, and one by one I'll keep on creating all the methods, all the functionalities. Once all the methods are done, I can test whether the addition is working fine or not, subtraction is working fine or not. In order to test whether addition is working fine or not, whatever code that I've written inside this is working fine or not, what I need to do, I need to call this addition method from this calculator class. So how to call a method from a class? Anyone, how to call a method from a class? What is the syntax? So guys, what's the syntax? How can I call this addition method from this calculator class? What should I write over here? This question is majorly for the people who are attending for the very first time. I know people who have already completed Java can easily answer this. Calculator.add. So can I directly call calculator.add? Calculator obj equal to new calculator. That's correct. So the syntax is something like this. See, calculator obj. Instead of obj, I can even write calc equal to new calculator like this. This is how we create an object of a class. And now how to call a method? I'll simply say calc.add. If I run this much code, it is going to execute what is written inside this addition method. Right? Same way, I can call other methods like I want to divide something, calc.divide. I want to subtract something, calc.subtract. Multiply, calc.multiply. One by one, I can call all the methods from this class and I can perform these functionality. But the very first thing that we need to do is to create an object of this class. By this statement, I'm creating an object of this class. Now tell me, what is an object inside this statement? What is an object? Object is real thing, but what is the object in this statement that is creating an object? Calci? Object is physical presence of class. Okay. New is creating an object. So only new can create an object. If I just write new, can I create an object? Yeah, I know. Only new can create an object, but just new alone cannot create an object. You cannot go to editor, just write new. It is not going to compile. So what creating object is new calculator. This is where the object is created. Calc is not an object. I can see 70% of the answer people are saying calc, but calc is not an object. Sorry, calc is just a variable. We call it as a reference variable. What is this calculator? What is this calculator? What's the class name? Class type? Interface? No, it's not an interface. We cannot create an object of an interface. Constructor? No. It's actually a type, right? Like we have data types. So this is also a type. This is a variable. This is an assignment operator. This is a keyword. This is a constructor. And an object is always created whenever we say new calculator. So we're going to discuss about these things in depth. Don't worry. So like right now, I've written the code in Notepad. Previously, people used to write the Java code in Notepad. But yeah, like most, I'll be repeating these stuff in the editor itself. I'll again going to show it to you. So these days, there are many editors available, editors with artificial intelligence. As in, if you're not good in coding, then these editors helps you a lot while writing code. If you make any mistake, they'll give you suggestions. If there are, let's say if there are 100 methods inside a class, I cannot remember all 100 methods. I'll simply put a dot and it will show me list of all the methods. So some editors are paid, some are open source, like IntelliJ is there, WebStorm is there, NetBeans is there, Eclipse is there. Eclipse is most widely used editor. So in our lectures, we'll be working on Eclipse itself. It's completely open source, no license required to work on Eclipse. So we'll be downloading Eclipse IDE. IDE is not like Selenium IDE, it's an integrated development environment. And but there is a prerequisite. The prerequisite is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. Java as in JDK, that is Java Development Kit. And the most stable version that we'll be downloading is 1.8. Although the latest is Java 15 or 16. So some of you might have installed Java 16 or 15 by default. If you still have that Java 15, I would recommend you to go to control panel and delete that, because most of the components that will be integrating with Selenium, Maven, Jenkins, they might not gonna work on your machine if you have Java 16 or 15. So I would recommend to install JDK 1.8 only. And it's very simple to install and configure it. No license required for Java. Simply go to Google and type download JDK 1.8. So it's by Oracle now. Go to this particular link, and if you go down, we should only keep one JDK version. Yes, we should try to keep only one JDK version. You should not mix Java versions. So if you see, Java is available for Linux, for Mac, for Solaris, for Windows. For Windows 32-bit is this, for 64-bit is this. I'm on a 64-bit machine. I'll be downloading this exe file. So Java comes as a exe file. You just need to click on it and you need to download it from here. So check this and download it. It comes as a exe. If you are visiting this website for the very first time, it may ask you to create an account over here. So it's a free account. Just create that and click on this exe and download it. So installing is very simple. It's just like a normal software. A exe file, double click on it, next, it gets installed on your machine. There is no hard rules for Java, hard configuration for Java. So just need to download it and install it. That's it. Should you do it now? No, you should not be doing it now. You just need to like see the process. Everything is being recorded. I don't want you to practice it right now, because you're going to get enough time for practice. That is the reason the classes are over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday only, so that Monday to Friday you can at least take out some time and should be practicing whatever that we are covering in the weekends, right? But don't do it right now. Don't write any program, don't do any installation, otherwise you may gonna miss what I'm teaching you right now. Gaurav is saying I have many. Am very much okay. I'll just keep it with me. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry about Java. Like once you cover the basic programming part, you'll be very much confident. I'm gonna show it to you. It's very simple. Once I start writing the Selenium code, you'll gonna feel it very simple. So don't worry about it. Okay, you've already downloaded 16. Yes, you should uninstall it and download 1.8. I have seen many people facing challenges using 16. So don't use it. Just go to control panel, whatever Java that you see, just uninstall that and install JDK 1.8. Right? It is not going to make any harm to your any running program. So don't worry about it. So install it. After installing this, it is going to come inside C drive program files. You're going to see a folder of Java over here. And this is what you're going to see, JDK. You're also going to see JRE over here. I just messed up with that. So I've, by mistake, it got removed. But don't worry, the JRE is over here as well within JDK. Once you download JDK, JRE comes along with it, right? So JRE and JDK, there are a couple of terms that we'll be using. Something is called as JVM, something is called as JRE, something is called as JDK. You need not to worry about what exactly this is, because these things are covered in the Java session from scratch. So JDK is something that is called as Java Development Kit. JRE is Java Runtime Environment. To run any Java program, you need the runtime environment. JDK is when you need to develop something, you need to write some code. For that, you need this development kit, Java development kit. For the time being, just you need to do is little configuration. That's it. Once you download Java, it comes over here as a JDK folder. You're gonna see, and inside this, you're gonna find your Java inside the bin folder. This is where the Java is. So the actual location of Java on your machine is this. Now there are many applications that you will be installing which may need the access of Java, which may need to see where the Java is. So you need to configure Java globally on your machine, so that from any location you can access Java. And if any other third-party software may need access of Java, can get it from that global location. For that, what we need to do? For that, we need to configure something called as environment variables. So environment variables are your global configuration. What you need to do, this is the root of your project. Just copy this. In your start, type edit. This is a shortcut. Type edit. Click on edit system environment variables. Open this. Here is your environment variable. Click on this. Under the system variable, you should not be doing anything in user variable. Under system variable, click on new and create a variable with the name Java underscore home and paste this path. So you are actually creating a variable which is holding this value. Click on OK and you'll see this variable created over here. Now you go down and you'll see a path variable over here. Just click on edit and you can see a lot of things already configured. You'll not be deleting or modifying the existing configuration over here. Otherwise, it may gonna hamper your existing running program, may gonna corrupt your Windows, because see Windows 32 setting, system 32 setting, and other crucial window configuration is done over here. When you install your Windows, so most of the things like is also added in this global environment variables. So what you need to do is just click on new, go to end, type percentage Java underscore home percentage. When you do this, you call that variable value over here, and that variable is holding your JDK path, the path that is this path. And where is Java? Java is inside bin. So just add a backslash over here and say bin. That's it. This is the only thing you need to do in order to configure Java. Like I've already done it over here. So I'm not going to redo it. I'm just going to delete this. Once you're done with this, click on OK, click on OK, click on OK, and Java is successfully configured. Now go to command prompt. From any location, even if you're on C drive, if you type Java hyphen version, you should be able to access the Java from any location you want, right? Is the same in Linux, Mac. There are different configuration for environment variables. I'm gonna give you those configurations as well. So do not worry about the Linux and the Mac part. They're just like you need to set up something in the bash profile, right? But I'm gonna give you those things. Don't worry. Okay, if system variable is controlled by admin, for all these things, you must have an admin rights. If you're working on Selenium, you must need an admin right on your machine. So if this is your company's requirement, they're going to provide you the admin rights. Right. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, so after configuring Java, the next thing is to get an editor where we can write the Java code. So editor is Eclipse. Again, it's very simple to install, download and install Eclipse. Is you just need to write download Eclipse. Don't use the latest version of Eclipse. Latest version may not going to support Java 8. The version that you'll be needing is, don't download it from here. Go to download packages. And I'll be showing you the stable version, that is 2020.03. Go down, see this is 2020.03. Download this one. And here again, you'll see a lot of components of Eclipse. Eclipse is a huge IDE. It supports multiple languages. You can write C, C++ code. You can write PHP code, Python code, JavaScript code, Ruby code. All this coding you can do in Eclipse. We need Eclipse for a very basic core Java component. We'll be downloading this Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java developers. Again, based on your Windows 64-bit or 32-bit, you'll be downloading it. It automatically, give you 64-bit in case you are on a 64-bit machine. If you're on a Mac, you need to download this. Linux, you need to download this. So Eclipse comes, if you download this, you're going to see a zip file. A zip file is something like this. I've already downloaded this. I'm going to show it to you. I'll go to my D drive softwares. And this is the zip file you're going to get. Just unzip it. You're going to see a folder of Eclipse like this. This is Eclipse. And if you open this, you're going to see a lot of folders over here. Nothing installable in Eclipse. There's the application. Just double click on it, and it's going to launch your Eclipse. I'm having 2019 little old version, but you can download 2020 right? So over here, it is showing you something called as Workspace. Now, Workspace is basically a location where you'll be maintaining your project code. Any coding that you'll be doing on your machine, you'll be storing it at some location. That is what your Workspace is. Like I am going to develop a calculator project. So I'll be creating a workspace first, a folder which should store my project. So I'm going to name this folder as, let's say I'll name it as Selenium batch 2021, something like this. And I'll click on launch. So if I go to this location, D drive workspaces, you're going to see a folder Selenium batch 2021. Right. If you open this, whatever coding that you're going to do will get stored at this location. Right now, we have not written any code, so nothing you're going to find it over here. But once Eclipse is launched, it is going to show you a welcome screen like this. Just close it, and this is what your Eclipse is. Here you'll be maintaining your project, creating a new project. Here you're going to write some code. Here you're going to get the output of that code. We're going to talk about basic Eclipse features as well as soon as we proceed with the course. But right now, I'm working as a Java developer. I'm going to create a calculator. So I'll be creating a new project. So I'll say create a project, create a Java project. I'm going to select Java project from here. Click on next. Give some project name. You can give any name over here. I'm working on calculator. I'm going to give a name as Calci project and click on finish. Click on open. And you'll see Calci project created. If you expand this, you'll see a SRC folder. This is the source folder. Anything that you'll be writing, the code in your project will be inside this source folder. You can see by default, there is some JRE system library. If you expand this, these are the Java jars. This is the Java project, the Java internal classes, which are mapped to your project. Right? Normally in Notepad, when you write code in Notepad, if you have ever worked on C, C++, you may have seen that people write header statements like include conio.h, studio.h. Similarly, in Java, if we write the code in Notepad, we need to import some libraries like import java.util.star, java.math.random, and number of libraries. But when we are working on Eclipse, we need not to worry about internal imports. All the internal imports will be managed automatically by Eclipse. We just need to focus on creating our own class. So we simply say right click on this project, on this SRC folder, say new and click on class. And you can see a template showing up over here, which is asking to give a class name. I can give a class name. Class name always start from a capital letter. If I'm creating calculator, I'm going to give a class name as calculator with a capital C. Calculator. And I'm going to check this public static void main. Click on finish. And you're going to see a sample code showing up over here. Let me increase the font size. It is not working. Just give me a moment. I think the number lock is off. Just give me a moment. Font size, I'll increase it from here in that case. All right. So these are comments, you can remove them. Now this whole thing is a class, and this is a method, a function, a by default method in this class called as main method. Anything that you want to execute in Java must be inside this block in basic Java, right? This is a main method. Along with this, you see many things like public, class, static, void, many things in reddish color, many things in black color. All these reddish color things are predefined keywords, right? There are concepts behind these predefined keywords. What is public? What is private? What is, these are called as access modifiers, access specifiers. What is static? What is non-static? What is void? What are types? What are return types to a method? So we'll be discussing about these things in depth once we move into the Java concepts. Right now, you need not to worry about it. What is public? What is static? Just leave it as it is. Right now, we are not going to discuss about these things. Right now, let's say if I want to print something in C, how to print in C? You must have done that in your graduation. How to print in C? Just tell me a simple code for printing in C. How to print in C? Printf, exactly. How about C++? C out, correct. How about Java? How to print in Java? System.out.println. Yeah, see, most of you know. So how to print in Java? We simply say system out println, and the very first program of any programming language is to print hello world. So let's save this. Let's click on run button, and you're gonna see that in the output hello world is printed, right? But we're not here to print hello world. We are here to understand what an API is, because Selenium itself is an API. And for that, what I did, I created a calculator class, but I've not yet created that API, not created the calculator as well. So calculator contains a lot of functionality, addition, division. I'll be creating all those functionalities in a form of a function, a method inside this class. So I'm going to create a method with the name add, and method name always starts from a small letter. So in Java, we generally follow something called as camel casing. What camel casing is, if there is a class name, let's say the class name consists of three words: the dark night. Now if you read it like this, you'll not be able to understand it. I mean, it's not very readable. To make it readable, since it's a class name, I'm going to start it from a capital letter, the, and anything joining must be in a capital letter: the dark night. Same way, if I'm talking about method, the method name start from a small letter. Anything joining must be in a capital letter. So this is what camel casing is. So that, I mean, this is the same standard coding practice followed by everyone in the industry. Even if you take a look at the Selenium code, the Selenium developers who have created Selenium, you're going to find the same coding practice they have implemented. Any project. And if you follow the same process, you should be able to understand the code written by developer as well, whether they're using a class, whether they're using a method, they're using an interface, should be able to understand it easily, right? So we'll be following the same coding practice. Now, I've created add method. I'm going to write some code inside this add method, which is going to add some numbers. But right now, we are not familiar with the coding. So what I'll do, I'll just going to print something. Printing as in adding some numbers. So what, when you call this method, it is like not going to add some number, it is going to just print adding some numbers. right? Var name pattern, we will be discussing about these things later on. So I'm not going to go in that depth because otherwise people who are joining for the very first time might gonna get confused. Right. Nikita is saying, I'm not clear how Selenium is an API. That is what I'm trying to show you. I have not yet shown you an API. So don't worry about it. It is it will be there soon. So just give me another 10 minutes. You should be able to understand what an API is easily. Right? So let me complete this calculator project first. So similarly, like we have addition, I'm going to create other methods as well, like one for division, one for multiply, one for subtract. And what this is doing, this is going to divide some numbers, this is going to multiply numbers, this is going to subtract some numbers, and so on. Right. So let's say I've completed the entire functionality. And now what I want is I want to call this addition method. How to call it? I'll go inside my main method and going to create an object of calculator class. How to create it? We have just seen in the notepad, I've written it something like this. Calculator calc equal to new calculator. If I copy this and paste it over here, see, I didn't get any error. This is a correct statement. Correct statement as in if I write calculators over here, then Eclipse is going to highlight it with red color. Why? Because Eclipse is not able to understand what calculators is. If you mouse over onto this, it is going to give you a suggestion. Calculators cannot be resolved to a type. See, this thing is called as a type, right? I told you that this thing is like a type. Type, or you can say a data type, but this is like a class type. So if you mouse over and if you see the suggestions, Eclipse is giving you suggestions as well. Create class calculators or change it to calculator. If I click on this, it is going to change it to calculator. Now, if you say calc dot, you should be able to access all the methods from this class. A method like addition, a method like division, multiplication, subtraction. So one by one, you can call these methods. You've called calc.add. If you run this, it is going to print adding some numbers. Similarly, if you call calc.subtract, calc.divide, calc.multiply, save this, run this, and you're going to see the complete functionality is executed successfully. Now I'm going to create one more method which has got a same name as of the class name. What we call it as a method having a same name as of the class name. Constructor. Exactly. So what exactly is constructor? What is constructor? So what is constructor? This is called when an object is created. True. It is called automatically when we create object. True. How about others? To initialize variable. It's a method. By default, every class has a constructor in Java used to initialize object. So all the statements are true. So constructor is like a method only, right? We can write some code inside this constructor only. And this is called at the very beginning as soon as you create an object of a class. So this method has the same name as of the class name, right? You need not to explicitly call it. So a special method that returns nothing. True. So if I'm saying it's like a method only, I can write some code over here. Let's say calling constructor, right? So let's call this method. If I go down over here, I'll say calc dot. I'm not getting calculator. See, I'm not getting calculator. So I'm not able to call this method. How to call this method? How will we call this method? It is called automatically when you create an object. True, right? We cannot explicitly call it. Even if you don't call these methods. If you just write this statement and run it, the very first thing that will be called is a constructor. See, calling constructor. As soon as an object is created, the very first thing that is called is a constructor. You need not to explicitly call it. Now we were discussing about what is an object in this statement. Many says calculator is an object. Many says new calculator is an object. Let's assume calculator is an object. So what I'll do, I'll remove this part. See, still it is a valid statement. There are no errors in the code. If this is an object, and now if I run this, will it gonna call the constructor or not? If I run this, will the constructor be called or not? No, correct? So if I run this, nothing happens. It means this is not an object. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll remove this part now. This is still valid. Now if I run this, tell me whether the constructor be called or not. Whether it's going to call exactly. So this is where the object is created whenever you say new calculator. So if this is creating an object, then what is the need of calc? Why do we need calc? Why we need calc? To call methods, to access methods in a class. It means if we don't have calc, I cannot call calc.add, calc.divide, calc.multiply, or can I? No, can't call. See, I've got 97% no and got one correct from Deepika. Yes, we can call it. See how to call it. I can still call it. I can say new calculator dot add without creating reference. And if I run this, see adding some numbers. But what if I want to call subtract as well? How to do that? Again, I need to say new calculator dot subtract, new calculator dot divide, new calculator dot multiply. And if I run this, let's see what happens. Constructor is called 4 times, right? It means 4 objects are created in a memory. So if there are 100 methods I'm calling like this way, it is going to create 100 objects in a memory. This is not a good way of writing program. We should not create so many objects. So what we can do is wherever the object is created, I'm going to store that object address to a variable. I can give any name to a variable, abcd equal to this. Normally we give it a meaningful name, so we call it as calc equal to this. Storing it something like I want to store a number 10 to a variable, like value equal to 10. What will be the type of this variable? Int. Great, right? So I can store it like this, int equal to value equal to 10. Can I store my name in this int? Can I store it like this? Int value equal to Rahul? No. So it depends what type of information or what type of data that you are storing. The type is according to that data. If you're storing something like a name, it is stored always inside string. If you're storing a numeric value, it will always be stored inside int or other numeric data types. So if I talk about string, what is string? What is string in Java? String is a class, collection of characters, data type. All these things are true, but string is actually a class in Java. If you mouse over onto string, string itself is going to tell you that string class. See, string class. So if string is a class, then what is value? What is value? A variable, a reference variable. So if you say value dot, you should be able to access all the methods of string class. See, all these methods are showing string against them. They're coming from string class. So this is the same thing. Now we are not storing numbers. We are not storing like characters. We are storing this address into a variable Kelsey. Can I store it in string? Can I store it in int like this? It will not allow me. It has to be a same type of this class. That is the reason we call it as a type. So this is a type. This is a variable. We also call it as a reference variable. This is an operator. This is assignment operator basically. This is a keyword, and this is a constructor. And this thing is creating an object. And now if we say calc dot, we should be able to access all the methods from the calculator class. So we'll say calc dot add, calc dot subtract, calc dot multiply, calc dot divide. So if you call all methods from this class, run it, only and only one object will be created. See, constructor is called only once, and all the methods are called from the same object reference. We can write anything in place of calc. We can even write xyz, right? Just a reference variable. You can give it any name. So that is what a very basic programming part. Although we'll be learning these concepts, what is a class, what are methods, how to create a method, public, static, everything in Java. So don't worry about it. But the purpose of designing this is, let's say I've written 500 lines of code. I've created complete calculator. And in addition, I've written some 500 lines of very complex code. Now, next time, if someone has to add some number, I don't want that he should again create this functionality addition. If someone want to do division, multiplication, he should not recreate it. He can use my method, my functionality. I've already created it. Okay, so there's a question. So calculator, calc equal to new calculator, and new calculator is same. Yes, it's exactly same, but when we do calculator calc, then we are storing the address of new calculator, the object created in that reference. That is the only difference. All right. So I was saying that if like I've written a very complex code for addition and division multiplication for all the functionality, I've put my all efforts and I've created a huge project which is going to perform each and every operation that calculator does. Now, what I want that if someone wants to add something, divide something, he should not recreate it. As an end user, I want to add something. Am I going to create addition? Am I going to write the code for addition? I'll just open that project and access the addition functionality. Right? I can access the division functionality. So for that, what I did as a developer, I want to launch this as an open source project, free of cost. No one should pay for this project. And open source doesn't mean that it is only free of cost. It means that anyone can contribute into the development of this project as well. So next time, if anyone like if anyone is going through this project and he's very much interested in adding more functionality, he can create a functionality for calculating percentage, square root, and number of things he can add, then he is most welcome. Or if someone wants to just access the functionality, he can call these functions, these methods, and can do addition, division without rewriting the entire code. For that, what I did, I want that this project should be accessed from any part of the world. So what I did, I just right clicked on this project and I've gone to export and I've gone to Java, clicked on jar file. From here, I click next, and then I'm going to give this name as calculator and the version 1.0, the very first version of my project, .jar. The extension should be .jar. And I'm going to save this on desktop and click on finish. So if you go to the desktop, you're gonna see a jar file. Look at, there are so many files over here. Let me do one thing. Let me open a desktop from here. And then you should be able to see the calculator jar that I just created. Where is the jar file? Yeah, this is the jar file. This is the calculator jar file. So now it's not like if you double click on it, it is going to install calculator on your machine, right? It is not going to do any installation. With the help of this jar file, you're only going to come to know what all methods are there, what are functionality is there inside that calculator project. Even if the developer has not shared you the code, you'll not be able to see the code, but you'll be able to call the functionality, addition, division, with the help of this jar file. Normally in an open source project, people give away their code as well, because open source means anyone can contribute into the development of that code, right? So what I did, I want that this project can be accessed from any part of the world. So I uploaded this project on my website. So anyone, if a person is sitting in US or Canada, can go to my website, download this jar file, and can access the functionality free of cost. No need to pay for any license. Can do addition, division without writing the complete code. Now, what I did after building this project, I left this organization. So I'm going to close this project. So let me close this project, close it. And now I joined a new company. Again, as a Java developer, this time I joined, let's say, hsbcbank.com. So their project was also in Java. So they have a project with the name HSBC Bank. Click on finish. And I joined in between of that project. So they already have multiple classes and code which is written inside this project. They were having a class called as a class with the name banking. They already have a class with banking name, in which they have a couple of methods already available. Method for calculating profit, method for calculating loss. So all these methods they were already having inside their project. Now I was hired in between of this project. They asked me to implement a functionality that could add salaries for a number of employees. So something related to I need to create a functionality called as addition over here as well. And let's assume this functionality is similar to what I've created in my calculator project. But I've written like somewhere around 400-500 lines of code. And I need to do the same thing over here as well. Now there are two ways to do it. Either I should start writing the code from scratch over here. But why should I write it again? If it is already available in an open source project in that jar file. So what I do, I've gone to their website, downloaded that jar file, and then right clicked on this project, gone to build path, add external archives, and I've added that jar file as a reference library to my project. And as soon as you add this jar file, you should be able to see what all classes were there, what all functions were there that you have created in the previous project. But you're not able to see the code. I'm not worried about the code. I don't want to see what is written in addition, but I want to access addition functionality. So how to access it? By just creating the object of this calculator. And how to create an object? You can simply create it like this. Calculator calc equal to new calculator. See, right now we are in a different project. We're not in a previous project, but we are able to access calculator. We are not getting any error. Why? Because we have the jar file added to our project. If I remove this jar file, I'll go to build path, remove. Then I'll not be able to access calculator. Then Eclipse will suggest me create a class calculator. But why should we recreate it? It is already there, but in a third party project. So that third party project, I'm going to add it in a form of this jar file over here. And now I can access all the methods. I can access the method from here, calculator class. I will say calc.add. And I've implemented the entire functionality without rewriting the code. Instead of add, I'll name it as add salary. The banking method name is add salary, right? And inside this, I'll simply gonna write calc.add. Yes, Abu, we are going to do all the installation part from scratch. So don't worry. Today and tomorrow are just like the demo session. In demo session, normally what happens, I need to explain everything in just 2 sessions. You can see the complete training I'm going to demonstrate you in 2 sessions. So don't worry about it. Even if you feel that I'm going little fast, we'll be starting it from scratch. So don't worry. Just analyze what all things we are going to cover. Right? Okay, so how do you export from third-party jar files when it is secured in a previous project? See, that is what we did. From the previous project, we have exported it and we downloaded it as a jar file to our desktop. And this is the same file we have added in this project. And now we have called the addition method from this calculator class, which is there in the jar file. Now, in case you want to call this add salary, how to call this add salary? You need a main method over here. So let me add the main method. And now in order to call add salary, how to call a method, you need to create an object of a class. So create an object of banking class by saying banking b equal to new banking, and then you'll say b dot add salary and save this and run this. And now you're gonna see adding some numbers is called. Without rewriting the entire code, I have accessed the functionality from this particular jar file, right? And if I talk about this jar file, this is what an API. This is an API to HSBC Bank. And same thing is with Selenium. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file. Like the way I've added this jar file, I can add Selenium in this project and can access the functionality. There are many classes, many methods which are created by a third-party website. That is selenium.dev. I don't know what is written inside that, but I can go to their website, I can download their jar file, I can go inside this project, go to build path, add external archives, and where I have downloaded the Selenium jar, I just need to add that jar file. That's it. That's the only configuration you need to do for Selenium. So calculator was also an API for HSBC Bank project. Now Selenium, we are accessing it for automation. We can access it in any project. In the same project, if you want to launch a website and want to do some testing, you can access Selenium jar over here. Then Selenium is going to act as an API for this project. Now how? Like we have calculator class in a calculator jar. Similarly, if we talk about Selenium jar, it also contains multiple classes. If you want to run something on Chrome browser, there's a class called as Chrome driver. So what you need to do in order to access the functionality, you just need to create an object of Chrome driver by saying Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's it. See, we are not getting any error because this class exists in the Selenium jar. And now if you want to launch a website or perform other activities, you simply need to say driver dot. You should be able to access all the functions, the methods from this jar file, from this class over here. And not only this, if you write this much code, and there is one additional thing that we need to add. So I'll tell you what exactly that thing is. Downloaded it somewhere. Yeah, I'll just copy this and paste it over here to your project. That's it. So don't worry about this. What I've pasted, I'm going to explain you what this thing is. Don't worry. If you people know, then that's good. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Forget about the step that I've just like added this Chrome driver exe. Forget about this. I've just created an object of Chrome driver. That's it. And now I'm going to run. I'm going to run this and see what happens. Okay, this is an old file. So what it did, it launched and it crashed. It crashed because this file is not supporting. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to add the latest file. So what this is, I'm going to explain it to you. It's not allowing me to delete it. I need to kill it from task manager. See any Chrome driver? Yes, and end task. And delete it. And I'll be downloading the latest one. I'll see I can get it from. So what this thing is, I'm gonna make you understand in our tomorrow's lecture. So there is a whole big concept. I need to explain you what this Chrome driver file is and why we need it, where we're gonna get it. But for today, don't worry about it. Extract to desktop downloads, desktop. Okay, let me get it from here and then again paste it and then run the code. So let's see what happens. See, it launched a browser. Just by writing this line of code, what happens? A browser is launched. So where is that code written for launching the browser? Someone must have written a code. I mean, could be 100 lines of a code or 500 lines of code for launching a browser. Where is that code written? Anyone? Correct. In the jar file? Correct. Where inside the jar file? In POM? What is POM? If you double click on Chrome, in Chrome driver method, in class Chrome driver, that's true. The code is written inside Chrome driver class. The Chrome driver class is inside the jar file. See, this class is inside the jar file. If you want to see where the class is, I can show it to you. Expand it, and this is inside. See, there are so many packages, so many folders, and each folder contains so many classes. Your Chrome driver class is over here, the one that you're accessing. It's a huge collection of classes. Anything you need to automate on a website, you'll find a class or a function over here. But where is the code written for launching the browser? In the method? I have not called any method. Constructor, exactly. As soon as you create an object of a class, the very first thing that is called is a constructor. So even if you don't write this, if you just say new Chrome driver and if you launch it, you're gonna see a browser is launched, right? And now, in case you want to access other functionalities, you create a reference like this. You want to navigate to a website, say driver.get, and provide the URL http, let's say http way to automation.com. Save it and run it. So I'm not aware of what code is written in the get method, what code is written in the constructor, but I'm able to call these methods and able to automate my website, launch the page, navigate to the website. If I want to get the title of this page, the method is very straightforward, driver.get title. This is going to return me the title, but it is not going to print the title because printing task is not of Selenium. Printing is Java task. And how we print in Java? We simply say system out print ln. And after printing the title, I want to close the browser. So one by one, I'm going to call this method and see, it's very simple. Driver.get, driver.get title, driver.close is going to close the browser. So if you again run it, it is again going to launch the browser, going to navigate, print the title and close. See, the title is printed, right? So is it that much difficult that I should use Selenium IDE, record and play, and get the code and then paste it over here and then use it? Yeah, I'll be uploading all these recordings. Don't worry about it. Right? So that's what Selenium is. Selenium is just a jar file that contains so many classes, so many methods. It's a complete project, right? Selenium is not a tool. This is the only prerequisite to get started with. You need to have JDK, you need to have Eclipse, and you need to have this jar file. That's it. And now you can automate any website in the world easily. Right? There are other many components as well, which we're going to talk about. But right now, we are already running out of time. We have already extended the session for 7 minutes. So those are the things I'll be showing it to you in our tomorrow session. So tomorrow we are going to meet at the same time, and we'll be discussing about all these components that I've listed down. I'm going to show you some practical examples around these concepts as well, so don't worry about it. And then I'm going to explain you what all things we are going to cover in the live sessions, what all live projects we are going to cover. We're going to cover major frameworks like data driven, keyword driven, hybrid, page object model, page factories. So these are the things we are going to cover. So all these things I'll be listing it down, but before that I'll be explaining you what all these things are, right? So it is going to take at least one more session in order to make you understand what all content is there, what all things you'll be getting, what all recordings, where I'll be hosting it. So these are the things we'll be discussing it in our tomorrow session, right? So I hope you have enjoyed today's session, and you not got bored because I mean we have not yet started with the programming part, right? So, but I'll try to maintain the same pace in all the lectures, right? And we'll try to make it more and more interactive, right? So that's all about, guys, for the today's session. I'll be sharing you the recordings on your mail ID very soon, and you must have the meeting invite for tomorrow's session. So try joining tomorrow's session at the same time, and students who are joining new will gonna join the Java sessions from next weekend. Thank you so much, Alicia, for the feedback. All right. Sure, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, let me show you the answers from others. Okay. So that's all, guys, for today's session. We're gonna meet tomorrow and same time. So I hope you to see you guys tomorrow. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you so much for joining in.